More Nigerians fall into poverty as GDP grows to 3.11% and APC to screen 24 aspirants today. Welcome to the program from the Dailies on Echo Television Africa. I am Sele Elisha Dasham, and with me is Owolabi Tosin.
Good morning, Sele.
Morning, Tosin. How are you doing?
I'm fine, and you?
Fine, thank you. Let's run through the papers, starting with the Daily Independent.
And on Daily Independent, new Nigerian Air Force kit has turned tide against terrorists. This is coming from President Muhammadu Buhari. President Muhammadu Buhari on Monday said that the provision of modern equipment and personnel motivation for the Nigerian Air Force has helped turn the tide to fight against terrorists and other non-state actors. President Buhari also lauded the Nigerian Air Force for living up to its constitutional responsibilities of securing the nation, noting that investment of the government in Air Force is well justified. And we know yesterday we celebrated the Nigerian Air Force Day / the reunion for 2022, and President Muhammadu Buhari was in Kano State where he celebrated the Air Force Day and the reunion with the Air Force personnel, and also he promised that new equipment and kit will be provided to the Air Force in ways to fight this issue of insecurity. And there's a promise, the promises were made concerning the new kit and also the training of personnel in new measures and investigative measures that will help fight this issue of Boko Haram and even the IPOB now, because we see the IPOB now are taking charge now in the eastern state of where IPOB are disrupting the lives and properties and even killing people. Just as they recorded the death of the lawmaker that happened on Saturday. That's a lawmaker for the constituency in Anambra State. And now President Muhammadu Buhari is promising new kits and even more trainings for personnel of the Air Force on ways we can fight this insecurity. So I would say that is really good. We should not just stop in promises, but we should look out for ways we can provide more equipment, like sophisticated equipment, so that we can fight this issue, and even the training of our personnel on new tactical measures and tactical means to fight this issue. We should not just be relaxed in our old ways of fighting this issue of insecurity, because this terrorist group are not relaxed. They keep on learning every day and they keep on advancing in their skills and even their training. So the Nigerian Air Force should not be relaxed. We need to learn new ways on fighting this issue of insecurity that is taking charge in our nation. And despite tough markets, NSIA's net asset grows to 919.7 billion naira in 2021. Records total operating income of 100.8 billion naira. Signing amended Electoral Act may trigger political crisis. Election Monitoring Group says it's too late now. Fear litigation can derail 2023 general election. Nigeria's GDP records 3.11% growth in first quarter 2022, with details in page 29 of the Daily Independent newspaper. And on 2023 presidency, court strikes out Emefiele's suit against AGF and INEC. Court dismisses government suit against NFIU on regulation of LG spending. And I'm equipped, I have what it takes to succeed Buhari. This is from the Senate President Ahmed Lawan. And on consensus candidacy, nobody can persuade Tinubu to step down. This is coming from his associates. And court convict ex-House of Rep member over impersonation and forgery. Amori Ejele win Delta PDP senatorial ticket. And that's all on the Daily Independent newspaper.
Thank you, Tosin. Let's take a look at the leadership newspaper. 2 Calabar hotel workers die in their sleep. You can read more of that on page 20 of the leadership newspaper. Hayutundin, I am not in politics for personal gain. And the local government funds, state lose as court okays the federal government and the NFIU guidelines. Justice Inyana Awu of the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has okayed the position of the federal government and the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit on local government joint account nationwide. The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit had in June 2019 issued guidelines aimed at curbing crime vulnerability created by cash withdrawals from local government accounts by various state governments. The Nigerian Governors Forum had dragged the federal government and the NFIU to court for interfering with state government powers to initiate transactions on local government joint accounts, citing provision of the 1999 Constitution. The NFIU issued guidelines on money laundering, risks, and vulnerability, advising all banks not to honor transactions from joint accounts. And you can read more of that on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper. And on PDP primaries, Ishaku Dawumbo Turaki Bolaji Abdullahi Need Awuku picks the Senate ticket. And you can read more of that on page 7. Court jails dismiss policeman for life for defiling a 9-year-old. Security challenges will soon be over. This is coming from President Muhammadu Buhari. And on strike, NASU holds emergency meeting today. And the big story here, which is on APC presidential flag bearer, Obunaya Onu may be Buhari's dark horse, with the rider president to use Onu's choice to pacify the Southeast will present him to other aspirants in matters of days. And rooting for Onu will be a masterstroke for country's unity at this time. We also have a picture story here where we can see President Muhammadu Buhari, and that is during the efforts reunion and other parade that took place yesterday. And that's all on the Leadership newspaper.
And on the Punch newspaper, we have federal government projects $289 billion local refining in 5 years. States groan over delayed revenue sharing. FAAC meets today. And 36 states lose financial autonomy suit against the federal government. The 36 state governors of the Federation on Monday lost in their opposition to efforts by the federal government to monitor their handling of local government funds. Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja dismissed the suit filed by the 36 states through their state attorneys general and the Nigerian Governor Forum. The challenge to legality of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit Guideline, which came into effect on June 1st, 2019. The NFIU 2019 guidelines required, among others, that the states and local government joint account should be used only for receiving funds and subsequently transferring them to the local government accounts only. The NFIU claimed that the guidelines, which also limits daily cash withdrawal from the state and the local government joint accounts to 500,000, are intended to reduce crime vulnerability created by cash withdrawal from the local government funds throughout Nigeria, taking effect from June 1st, 2019. The Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, and the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees were listed as defendants of the suit. They argued, amongst others, that the NFIU guidelines, known as the NFIU Enforcement and Guidelines to Reduce Crime Vulnerability, crafted by cash withdrawal from local government fund through Nigeria, particularly provision 1 to 6 and the penalty prescribed were otherwise, and powers of the NFIU under Section 3, subsection 1 and Section 23, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit Act 2018 and therefore unconstitutional. And we know concerning the local government autonomy, it has been a bill that we'll be looking at it to be passed, because we need the local governments to be able to stand on their own. They should not be dependent solely on the state government. They should generate their own income, they should generate their own revenue, and even run their own affairs. Other than waiting, we see local government workers, they stay for long without their salaries being paid. They can go for 2-3 months without receiving their salaries. So looking at this issue of the local government autonomy and even the financial autonomy suit that it's been passed in the court, we just look out that something will be done about it so that these local government workers can stand on their own, so they can receive their pays on their own, not waiting for the federal government, not waiting for subvention to be paid to the federal government before going to the state, and they have to wait last before getting their payments, their salary. We see where local government workers are suffering, and that's why the local government, when you go to the local government during the day, you won't see anybody there, because they've gone to their various farms. They look out for ways they can provide income for themselves without waiting for their salary, because their salary is not even coming as expected. So we just look out that if this thing will be done, that means they will give out their best at work, because they know that their salary is coming as required, and even at the due date their salaries are coming, not waiting, not having to stay 2-3 months before receiving their pay. And that will give them it will even help them to give out their best in their work, and it will even boost productivity even from the local government level. Obasanjo meets Wike, others seek justice and fairness. And still on the Punch newspaper, cashless transaction hits 117.33 trillion naira in 4 months, and this is coming from NIBSS. NSIA grows net assets by 19% to 920 billion naira. On the Punch newspaper, the big story says APC presidential primaries, Lagos, Borno lose jumbo delegates. Again, PDP, again party shift senatorial poll. Kano, Katsina, Osun, Oyo, Akwa Ibom, 5 others command numerical strength. Buhari meets aspirants on Wednesday, and reps postpone resumption over primaries. Air Force marks 58th anniversary. Buhari insists service positioned to tackle challenges, and details can be found in page 11. Telecos protests 19 billion naira new phone tax to bill subscribers. And again, sit-at-home paralyzes Imo, Anambra banks and schools shut. Dismissed policeman bags life imprisonment for defiling pupils. And 9. Details can be found in page 4 and 5. 23.3 billion naira fraud. Dasuki's case begins afresh after 7 years. And on Lagos explosion, gas plant owners dies. Lawyers insist on 800 million naira compensation. And we see we have been having issues of this gas plant explosion. Just 2 weeks back, we had this gas plant explosion in Kano State, and it affected school children. And now we are seeing this explosion again in Lagos State, where the gas plant owner died even in the accident. We are calling on those gas plant owners and even gas plants. They should look out for ways their security and their safety should be guaranteed, because we don't want to be having issues of this explosion. So believe you me, when you face the explosion of gas, it is very dangerous. We've seen gas exploding and taking the lives of people, and now we can see this explosion taking place in Lagos State. We need to look out for how we can stop this issue, because all this explosion has to take lives and properties. It affects lives and properties. And imagine this explosion in Lagos State and that of those school children that were affected in Kano. So we should look out for gas. We had issue when we had bad gas that was being sold, and that triggers the explosion very fast. So we need this agency and the sector that are into checkmating the gas that are being sold to people, and the gas that are being sold even in the gas plant. Something needs to be done about it. The necessary agency that are in charge of checking out this bad gas should go out to all these gas plants. We don't want to have issues of this explosion, because lives and properties worth billions of nairas are being consumed in this process. Something needs to be done about this whole issue of gas explosion that we are experiencing in our nation of recent. And the last story on the Punch says Gombe governor intolerant of criticism, death profile story my only crime. This is coming from an online publisher known as Kera, and that's all on the Punch newspaper.
And a look at the Daily Trust newspaper. Anxiety as the APC National Working Committee meets moment screening of Uzibanjo and Tinubu and others. Nigeria's GDP grows by 3.11% in the first quarter. And the big story, IPOP kills woman, 4 kids and 4 other northerners in Anambra. And the writer following the story said, they are killing us every day. This is coming from a Hausa community leader. Northern groups blame hate campaign by regional agitators. Enforce anti-terrorism law in the southeast. This is coming from an expert. And communities shielding criminals. And that's what is coming from the police commissioner. And you already rightly stated the fact that IPOP have actually declared war on lawmakers, especially in Anambra State. And if you could remember clearly, I said this is not just about leaving the governor of Anambra State to tackle the IPOP, because he has been trying his best to see how can he compensate the IPOP so that they will get back to work, because we could record that banks, businesses, schools are suffering as a result of the sit-at-home order that is coming from the IPOP. And it seems that if you disobey, they do away with your life. So I think this will be to call on all the governors of the southeast to come together and reason together what is the way forward, because the sit-at-home will not solve the issue. It will not even bring about the result that you are seeking for. And I always stated here that we are better when we are united than when we are divided. If we are trying to face insecurity coming from the Boko Haram, coming from terrorists, and we are having another segment of the IPOP declaring war not just on lawmaker, but we can see an innocent woman, 4 kids and 4 other northerners. Regardless of whether you are from the north or south, a life matters. And I just think that this is where all the governors of the southeast should come together, because it's really, really affecting that area. And we know that, especially when it comes to our oil wells, they are mostly at that area there. So I think if we leave things to just one person to handle it, and he cannot do it all on his own, he needs the strength coming from other governors of the other southeast. So I think that they should come together, reason together, call IPOB and know what is the problem. How can we come to a compromise and see that we reason together for the better of the country? And I think even their leader, the Nandi Kanu, can actually come up together from wherever he is. Since the governor of Anambra was able to meet up with him, he can actually lend his voice to the brothers over there in IPOP, and let us see what can we do. Because regardless of what you do, lives have been lost, properties have been lost, businesses are suffering, and if they suffer, we all suffer together. It's not just about one. An injury to one is an injury to all. So I just think that the governors should come together and let us tackle this issue here, because it's going to be like terrorism on its own again. Other stories still on Daily Trust. Looters shouldn't escape justice again. This is coming from Buhari, One Judiciary. Court stops governors from tampering with the local government funds. And Jonathan candidacy highly risky, APC groups warns. Sit-at-home forces PDP to shift primaries in the southeast, with the rider parallel congresses in Kanu, Edo, exercise postponed in Katsina, and Ondo, Edo senators lose return bids. And you can read detail of that on page 2 of the Daily Trust newspaper, and that's all from the Daily Trust.
On New Telegraph, on the first quarter 2022, 12 banks incur 38.84 billion naira tax expense. GTCO emerges top with 11.8 billion naira. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics says Nigeria's economy grew by 3.11% in first quarter 2022. On 2023, Emefiele withdraws suit against INEC and AGF. Ajulo writes Buhari says only Oshibanjo and 2 others APC aspirants are eligible. Elon Musk loses $10 billion in one day as regards sexual scandal, and Nigeria others face worst food insecurity, with details in page 30. And NSIA's net asset grows by 919.7 billion naira amid headwinds, records total operating income of 100.8 billion naira. Still on insecurity, Buhari vows to provide requisite support for Air Force. Anambra, Imo, JTF commander assaults on gunmen. The big story says APC presidential screening, Adamu still consulting key stakeholders to work out modalities of president's meeting with aspirants, governors, leadership of National Assembly as party postpones screening exercise indefinitely. Abaribe, others kick as Abia PDP stakeholders settles for Ikone. And on 2022, Olufi Aleyegun Oluwo backs Ayetola's re-election. And Guba primaries divides Benue APC as Jemade Aondoka Mbeshun Akume. Details can be found in page 27. And on presidential ticket, PDP tilt towards northeast. Atiku Bala Mohammed tipped. Obasanjo meets Wike and Makinde and also Autumn. Nigeria needs continuity in government. This is coming from Vice President Yemi Oshibanjo. Nation's problem challenges statesmanship, Obi says in London. My priority is to revamp education sector. This is coming from the Senate President. And I will tackle power crisis as President. This is from Governor Ben Ayadi. And details can be found in page 6, 8, and 26. Downside, we have a study which links vision problem to mental decline misdiagnosis. And that's all on the New Telegraph.
And on this day newspaper, despite the global headway, NSIA grows net assets to 920 billion naira in 2021, with the rider records total operating income of 100.8 billion naira, post 156.6 billion naira profit, most dividend payment to shareholders subject to the NECT approval. And once inflation will make 2022 toughest for investors. NNPC Sahara take delivery of 2 multi-billion-dollar LPG vessels in the South Korean shipyard. Detail of that can be found on page 5. And on Adamu Ekiti, my first test I will not fail to deliver. Says we are never on the losing side. And you can read more of that on page 12. And here we have, it's a 4-horse race. How PDP delegate may vote in the presidential primary. And we can see the 4-horse. We have Atiku, Obi, Saraki, and Wike. So we keep our fingers crossed for whoever we emerge as for the presidential primary. And I think this is a call to keep reminding our viewers that you need to get your PVC registered, because the deadline is June 7th. And INEC already complained that they are not reaching their target because more people are yet to register for their PVC. So we'll take this opportunity to remind our viewers that whoever that is yet to register, go get your PVC, because it's one thing for you to talk with words of mouth, go to social media, but when you don't have your PVC, you'll not be able to do anything to change the narrative. So I think this is a call to our viewers to go out there and register for their PVC and get it, and also exercise their franchise on that day.
Yes, so it's very important to get your PVC, because you saw when the INEC chairman said there's a state in Bauchi State, some 4 local governments are yet to collect their own PVC. So it's one thing to go there, register, and also go back to collect your PVC, because you really need to use it to exercise your franchise. And on Nigerian Tribune newspaper, 36 governors lose suit against financial autonomy for local government. 19.4 million Nigerians to face food crisis by August. This is coming from ECOWAS, and we keep on talking about this food crisis. We've seen the efforts the African Development Bank is making towards having adequate food and even providing food, and even the security of farmers having access to go to their farms. And we're seeing that this study where ECOWAS is saying by August 19.4 million Nigerians will face food crisis. I keep on saying a hungry man is an angry man. We we need to look into this issue of the food crisis and make food available in the market, and for people to have access to this food. This is the raining season where farmers should have access to go to their farmland, but because of the problem we are going through, because of the insecurity challenges, people cannot have access to go to their farm any longer, and this is what is causing the food insecurity in the markets, and people are going hungry. Malnutrition, you see children are malnourished because they don't have the essential vitamins and nutrients they need to take for them to be healthy. So we need to look into all this. The federal government, the president, should look into how we can make food available and how people, farmers, can have access to go to their farmland to cultivate, to plant, cultivate, and even harvest their crops and take it to the point of sale, which is the market, for people to have access to good food. And despite tough market, NSIA's net assets grew to 919.7 billion naira in 2021. Nigerians' GDP grew by 3.11% in first quarter 2022, and COVID-19 not over, World Health Organization warns. APC revises timetable for governors, House of Assembly, National Assembly primaries. And the big story on PDP National Assembly primaries, Autumn Banki W. Ango Abdullahi's son, Tebe Ned Nwoko La wins, and sons of Fayoshe Kashamu also emerged. Details can be found in page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Presidential ambition, Emefiele withdraws suit against INEC and AGF. And court grants DSS permission to detain terror suspects for 60 days. 2 months after attack, flight resumes at Kaduna Airport. Too late now to sign Electoral Act amendment, poll observers tell President Muhammadu Buhari. And on 2023, coalition of 7 political parties in alliance. This is from NCF. And SDP, ADC, APM dissociate self from mergers. The big story, the picture story here, we can see President Muhammadu Buhari with flying officer Kanyari Sani and the Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Okadayo Amau at the commercial parade to commemorate the 58th anniversary of the Nigerian Air Force in Kano on Monday. And that's all on the.
And on Vanguard, insecurity, Soludo draws the battle line against criminals. Detail of that can be found on page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. Asaru terrorists protecting, indoctrinating some Kaduna communities. This is coming from a community leader, and we can read more of that on page 13. And on 2023, police arrest 3 journalists for covering fractional PDP primary. Probe internal fraud in judiciary budget, retired the Supreme Court Justice begs ICPC and EFCC. Despite tough market, NSAI net asset grows to 919.7 billion naira in 2021. And the big story, which is on Electoral Act, governors lament fear inability to control delegates, with the rider aspirant Sean consensus devise fresh strategies to woo delegates. Delegates to be house shielded from opponents driven to venue on D-Day. South is not working on any consensus arrangement. This is coming from Wajuba. And APC Southwest consensus. We are optimistic of a consensus. This is coming from the PLO convener. And why Tinubu remains the best, coming from Shetima. 36 governors lose suit against the financial autonomy for local government areas. Detail of that can be found on page 7. And police arrest suspect for attempting to exhume body at the cemetery. Still on 2023, Buhari won't seek third term or tenure extension. This is a report coming from APC. And the last story, which is of reps PDP primaries, and you can read more of that on page 34 of the Vanguard newspaper. But before we move to other papers, Tosi, I would like us to take a time out where we can open the phone lines for our callers to call us and let us know what your views are or your takes are concerning any of the story that is of interest to you. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after this time out. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, the program is from the Dailies on Echo Television Africa. I am Sarah Elisha Dasham and Obolabi Tusing have been doing this alongside me. Our phone lines are open right now. Our phone numbers are displayed on your or your takes are concerning any of the story that is of interest to you.
Moving to Al Jazeera, Nigeria, on primaries, political mop-up dollars from Bureau. Politicians mop up dollars from Bureau de Change. And on presidency, which is making the big rounds on the Al Jazeera, Nigeria, APC to screen 24 aspirants today. Oshibanjo, Amechi, Tinubu, Lawan, top contenders. Buhari meets governors, National Assembly caucus aspirants. Clinches Kwara Central PDP senatorial ticket. And Nigerian missing in Africa's insurance top 20. On the Senate, aggrieved Akwa Ibom aspirant boycott PDP primaries. And on presidential ambition, Emefiele withdraws suit against INEC and AGF. The Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele yesterday withdrew a suit that was filed against the Independent National Electoral Commission and the Attorney General of the Federation over his presidential ambition. Emefiele, through his counsel, St. Maliki, told Justice Ahmed Mohammed shortly after the matter was called that a notice of discontinuance have been filed and served on the defendants in the matter. Consensus to remain in state of residency, NPC urges. And BIDA joins UNESCO Creative Cities Network, says Esu Nupe. Court delivers judgment in Iyami's pension area suit today, and details can be found in page 4 of the Al Jazeera newspaper. And that's all on the Al Jazeera.
And on the Voice of Liberty, the first story, which is on insecurity, my government will restore peace in Nigeria. This is coming from President Muhammadu Buhari. And on banditry, 13,500 Katsina residents have fled to Niger Republic. This is coming from Missouri. This is really a sad one that each day we are recording insurgent. And just like you said, I think we'll not get tired of saying it. We need to call on our security agency. Here the president is saying that his government will restore peace in Nigeria. But he can't do it on his own alone. He needs all the stakeholders, all the lawmakers, everyone that is on ground to be able to put their hands together and work towards achieving this peace and making sure that people do not leave to Nigerian Republic as a result of insurgency, but that we'll find our own country a very peaceful place where we'll stay and will not be recording the poverty rate as a result of insecurity and other things that have been springing up. So we just hope that we're keeping our fingers crossed that the government will do something about it. And on audit query, how the federal government agency sold over 2 billion Naira asset for 13 million Naira. Reps Key says due process not followed. And on 2023, 7 political parties joined forces to battle the APC and the PDP. 7 political parties have joined forces fighting the ruling All Progressive and opposition party PDP in the upcoming 2023 general elections. Nigeria loses 2.2 trillion naira in revenue to crude production delays. This is a report coming from Nuge. And local government spending, 36 governors lose suit against the financial autonomy for local governments. And still on 2023, it's too late to sign amendment to Electoral Act, a group warning President Muhammadu Buhari. And on corruption, the acting accountant general also under probe by the EFCC. This is coming from sources. And we're still having a countdown on the Kaduna train terror attack victims. It's 57 days in captivity, and the government has already opened the train line. So we just hope that all has been put in place, that the government have gotten enough time to secure that railway so that people who will use that railway will not be afraid, because I know as a result of fear, possibly they will be recording low turnout of people who want to use there because of fear that their lives will be at stake. But I believe that all has been put in place. The security agency, they have checked it, CCTVs are set so that we will not record the same incident that happened again. And that's all on the Voice of Liberty.
And on Daily Sun newspaper, police kill 4 gunmen in Anambra, intensify hunt for others as Boko Haram kills 6 ISWAP terrorists. Olufi Alayegun Oluwo backs Oyetola's re-election, and this is on the 2022 election, with details in page 26. While on primaries, APC walks tightrope under pressure to adjust timetable. Postpone screening of presidential aspirants indefinitely and await Buhari's proposed meeting with governors, National Assembly caucus and aspirants to hold governorship and assembly primaries May 26th, National Assembly Friday and Saturday. And despite tough markets, NSIA net assets grows to 919.7 billion naira in 2021, records total operating income of 100.8 billion naira. Abia Speaker wins PDP reps ticket. Most aspirants kick against use of 3-man delegates. While on ASU strike, NANS threatens shutdown of major airports. Clark urges Education Minister to take over negotiations. Lawan, Tinubu, Amici, Akpabio stoke APC presidential tickets battle, and the federal government floors governors on local government financial autonomy. Court rules in favor of NFIU. Modibo Tukuru, others hail judgment, and 813 delegates to elect PDP presidential candidate, with details in page 8. And the picture story, we can see EFCC chairman Abdulrashid Bawa and the secretary to the government of the federation, Boss Mustafa, Senate President Ahmed Lawan, the Speaker House of Reps Femi Bajabiamila, and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami San at the opening of the EFCC NGI Capacity Building Workshop for Judges and Justice of the National Judicial Institute at Jabi, Abuja yesterday. And that's all on the Daily Sun newspaper.
And on The Guardian, Africa doesn't need aid to tackle food crisis, says additional. Telecoms operators fault the federal government on the new tax. You can read more on page 2 of The Guardian newspaper. And Lagos government partners UK on off-grid electrification strategy. No safe place for criminals to operate in Anambra, says Soludo. And the big story, which is on 2023 presidency, APC to screen prawn numbers of aspirants with the rider. Fayemi said only 5 aspirants are serious. Owajuba backs party on controversial letter of withdrawal. And Ohanize Indibo on beat about Igbo producing the next president. You can read detail of that story on the front page and continue reading that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Too late to sign amendment to Electoral Act. Election observers collusion, tells Buhari. And the last story, losing craft cases on technical groups demoralizing, EFCC tells judges. And detail of that can be found on page 4. And that's all on the Guardian newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, suspended accountants general became political appointees in 2021. GDP's 3.11% first quarter growth driven by trade and telecoms. Emefiele withdraws suit against INEC and the AGF. And APC planned screening of Jonathan Emefiele. Other raises curiosity. With an analyst who says all the forms of the 28 aspirants will be taken to the screening committee on Tuesday, which is today, got to wheeling at Transcorp Hilton Hotel, Abuja. Dismissed policeman gets life imprisonment for defiling 9-year-old. On APC primary, Buhari aspirants, governors for high-level talk. Oshibanjo, Tinubu, Amechi, others for today's parley. While the National Assembly leadership, the National Working Committee members to meet President, and the revised timetable, we have the governorship / the Assembly will take place on Thursday, and the Senate on Friday, House of Reps Saturday, while the presidential will be on Sunday / Monday. Former governors, ex-ministers win PDP senatorial ticket. Autumn, Wike's deputy, Ondo ex-deputy, governors are candidates. And the highlights here, we have sit-at-home stalls shadow poll in the southeast state. Shooting confusion in Edo, and Guje rename on ballot in Gombe. Aspirants boycott poll in Akwa Ibom. Sitting senators lose in Ondo, and no poll in Bayelsa, Sokoto, and Katsina. And we have the list of some winners for the poll. We have Ibrahim Nkwambo, we have Ned Nwoko, we have Joseph Tege, and others. BC Baka, they are all the winners. And downside, we have government okays contracts to buy more kits for the Air Force, while Lagos develop off-grid strategy. And that's all on the Nation newspaper.
And on Nigerian News Direct, APC primaries anxiety in ruling party as the National Working Committee readjusts election timetable again, with the rider approved state and local government area delegates to win. Fidelity Bank partners union system to optimize trade finance operations. Detail of that can be found on page 1 of the Nigerian News Direct. And the big story, 36 governors lose suit to the federal government on the local government financial autonomy, with the rider NFIU to report all transactions on local government joint accounts to the ICPC and EFCC. I have what it takes to succeed Buhari as president, Lawan tells Niger delegates. And hair, oil and gas reiterates commitment to global environmental best practices. Terminal operators on the run as REP begin probe of the multi-million-dollar debt. Detail of that can be found on page 12, and that's all on the Nigerian News Direct.
And for national economy, we have Kaduna Airport reopens for flight operations. More Nigerians fall into poverty as GDP grows by 3.11%. Despite GDP's figure, double-digit inflation puts pressure on income as prices of goods and services keep rising. Every 100 naira earned in Nigeria is shot by 16.82% in value. This is coming from an economist. African Development Bank to help Nigeria return to electronic wallet system in agriculture. Patronize made in Nigerian products to create jobs, and this is from NOA. Silver stakeholders dialogue on 1.4 MPBD refining targets, with details in page 5, and that's all on the national economy.
And still in the world of business, we'll take a look at the Business Day newspaper. And the big story, telcos weighs strain as 5% airtime tax starts June. Nigerians' GDP growth eludes businesses and households. And we have the NSIA 2021 financial performance into numbers. Second bank's agreement on crypto rules uncertain. And bank loans rise as maximum lending rate hits 5-year low. There will be no food crisis in Africa. This is coming from Additional, and I hope that will put the right steps to avoid the food crisis. And that's all on the Business Day.
And on the Business Standard, we have PM for enhancing financial cooperation to improve regional crisis management. On the Business Standard, Russia offers crude oil to Bangladesh. And regulatory duty hiked to discourage fruits cosmetic imports. Take Taka devalued against to keep dollars market stable. Corporates go cashless. Tax cuts on cards, with the government mule on reducing fine on VAT evasion. The tenure for paying interest on delayed VAT payment might be capped at 24 months or 36 months. Rising revenue collection falls down, economists says, as revenue sees about 15% growth in the 10 months from July to April of the current fiscal year. The last story on the TBS, revenue growth in FY 2022 only became import costs have surged. That's all on the TBS.
And to our sport lovers, let's take a look at the Sporting Life. Real Madrid to hijack Barca bid for Lewandowski. And we have Liverpool hate Man City. Other stories still on the Sporting Life. Ronaldo to pocket €1 million as bonus. Arsenal could lose out on the €70 million after Champions League failure. And we have Leland will have to suppress his ego. Arsenal urged to sign Oshime Owoniyi. And we have a shoulder injury stop Okoye. We have other stories here flying on the Sporting Life. So for our sport lovers, you can do well to get the Sporting Life newspaper, and you can read any of the matches or any of the league that is of interest to you. Thank you so much, Tosi, for doing this to me.
Thank you, Celine.
And this is where we call it a wrap on the program from the Dailies. Keep your fingers crossed as we have other live programs lined up for you. To all our supporters and also to the ECWA executive, we're truly grateful for a platform where we get to look at issues that concern us. Until we come your way again, have a blessed day.